and welcome to Wrong Way. And this is the final review of the majestic Dualtron X. Let me tell you more about it. Wrong Way. Thanks to Zwinne Miasto, I was able to test this thing for a longer, extended period of time. So it was around a month. I've put around 400 kilometers on the clock, which is around 230 miles. And in that time, I have found a lot of pros and cons of the Dualtron X that aren't necessarily written down on the spec sheet. Some of them might be deal breakers for you, some of them might be just meh, but some of them just come inherently with the construction of the Dualtron X. If you do want to check out all the specs, you can visit this video in the upper corner, or you can also check out the comparison video against the TechLife X9. First of all, I just wanted to say it has been an amazing experience. The Dualtron X is a scooter that is truly one of a kind and that looks and drives like nothing else on the market, period. And that is due to its construction, its geometry, its wheels, its tires, and its one-of-a-kind motorcycle damper suspension. I've seen comments when I put pictures of the Dualtron X on international and national forums that it's quite big, which it is, but that it's a motorcycle and I could have a motorcycle or something else at this price point. So let me first elaborate on this one. So for sure, the Dualtron X is utterly expensive. It costs $6,000, and yes, you can have a motorcycle in this price. But you can't drive a motorcycle on bicycle paths. There's no problem with driving the Dualtron X on a bicycle path, and actually it's a lot of pleasure, and it's really nice to drive this thing slowly as well. And the second thing is, who cares about your motorcycle? Everyone has a motorcycle. Who has a Dualtron X? Nobody. I mean, the attention and the awe that the Dualtron gets when you're just out in the public is insane. I mean, I don't know if there's any device, maybe except for like a Tesla Roadster or the Tesla Cybertruck, that gets so much attention as the Dualtron X. I mean, anywhere I go, anywhere I park it, there's children, elderly people, I know, regular people walking down the street. They can't wrap their minds around the scooter. It is so big, it looks so amazing. I mean, for that price, there's nothing that is so spectacular as the Dualtron X. And yes, there are no issues with driving this thing on a bicycle path. Yes, it is a bit wider, as you can see by the sheer girth of the deck, but it's actually not as wide as a bicycle because bicycle pedals just stand out a bit more. So there's no issues with that. It is heavy and you can get so swiftly around corners like on a Wolf Warrior 11 Plus or a Dualtron Thunder. But honestly, anywhere in that time period, when I wanted to go somewhere, I always wanted to take the Dualtron X because it's just so comfortable and it has this impressive amount of range. And talking about range, it has a 60 volt 49 amp hour unit, which is ridiculous. I mean, I never pretty much had range anxiety with this scooter. If this video gets 100 likes until Monday, I will do a range test in the first mode of the scooter. So hit the like button if you want to see that. My range test with moderate driving resulted in a range of around 63 kilometers, but the battery was around, I think, 92 or 95% of charge, and I had the regenerative braking turned off, which I'll mention in a second. And at the end, the battery was at 8%. I really did not want to carry or push this thing around with a empty battery. Main point is, a TechLife X9, a Wolf Warrior 11 Plus will die so much quicker than the Dualtron X. So when range is important to you, this is the most range you can get out of the scooters, as far as I know. So the 60 volt 49 amp hour unit is truly great. I mean, it could be a 72 volt unit, but then as we compared it to the TechLife X9, a 72 volt unit would lose the battery and the charge much quicker. So I think still the main point of the Dualtron X is really long commutes, comfortable driving, but still amazing acceleration. Not as amazing as the TechLife X9, but as amazing as the Dualtron X, for example. And I could not sadly measure a good 0 to 50 time because the weather is currently, well, shit in Poland, and the tires have no grip at all, which I'll mention in a second. And if this range wasn't enough for you, there is the additional GX20 port on the side, so you could extend the range even further. And the thing that you really cannot read on the spec sheet is the suspension and the ride. So it has these, I mean, it's ridiculous, 260 millimeter motorcycle springs, coils. I mean, it's ridiculous travel. You don't get this amount of travel even in e-bikes. Usually they're like 220 millimeter, 240 millimeter. This is absolutely insane. It is the most comfortable ride you can get in a scooter, and it even like goes down when you stand on it. It's ridiculous, and it's so comfortable. No other scooter is as comfortable as the Dualtron X. Mind you, the suspension is not perfect, because whilst I have no issues with the rear damper because it just works fine, I sadly cannot adjust the travel here because I don't have the necessary key. But I had some issues with the front suspension, mainly by design. Namely, when I brake really hard, the front wheel, the front tire tends to bounce on and off the ground. So that's a minor thing I noticed, which is like when you drive hardcore, this won't be as optimal as, for example, the Dualtron Thunder, in my opinion. And sometimes when I went really fast in corners and I was leaning a lot, then this bouncing also was occurring. So probably it's just a matter of setting up the front shock a bit harder, a bit tighter, but I didn't have a chance to do that. I don't have the necessary tools required, but that's a thing I noticed. And the suspension is, again, the thing that sets it apart from every other scooter. It is so comfortable, it's ridiculous. I mean, any bump on the road, you can go 16, 70, 80 kilometers an hour on pavement, and it's still comfortable and doable, and you don't feel like you're gonna die in the next second. If I were to go with the X9 on the street and there is a pothole, I would be really scared at the moment. With the Dualtron X, it's like no issues at all. Most comfortable, most safe scooter I have ridden. Talking about the ride, we also have to talk about the tires. And this is also a thing that you will not find on a spec sheet. These are very hard tires. They are designed for 200 kilograms of load each. They're very wide. They have a very slick profile. Let me just adjust that for you. And sadly, what I've come to notice is that it's not a all-weather scooter. So if you live in California, you have no issues at all. But here in Poland, when it's like 5-10 degrees Celsius or colder and it's wet, these tires have no grip at all. I mean, when I push full throttle at 50 kilometers an hour and I lean forwards, the front tire will spin out of control anyway. So when it's wet, when you have like any gravel or sand on the road, you have to really watch out, especially when turning and leaning, because there is no setting for one motor driving. There's also a thing I miss on the Dualtron X, and if you lean and you give too much power to the both motors, the front wheel would just spin out of direction. And I had a couple of times this situation. I did not fall. I could like rescue myself from this situation, but you have to really watch out for that. These tires are very slippery when it's cold and when it's wet. But they're very wide, and this is a great thing about them. They're very comfortable. These are 13-inch wheels. So that's great as well. You have no anxiety when going over curbs, so you have no anxiety when going over train tracks or like tram tracks in the city. This is a awesome thing. So the tires are unique, the wheels are unique because of its size and its construction, but definitely not designed for all-weather use. I would really love to see off-road tires for the Dualtron X, because it would be a beast off-road. I mean, truly a beast. Even with these tires, I would rather go off-road with the Dualtron X, I mean, unless it's very muddy, than the Tech Life X9, just because of the way it eats up all the bumps. The next thing I love about the Dualtron X, that everything comes as standard. In the Dualtron Thunder, you have to buy good lighting, horn, I don't know, fingerprint sensor or key if it's not available at your retailer, different handlebars. I mean, the list goes on and on. But here, everything is standard, and I find it so good. I mean, it's such a great benefit to have visible, I mean, not like toy turn signals like on the Speedway 5 on a scooter. It's so good on the road, and I think that every single scooter should have turn signals on board. It has a lot of lighting that is also standard. I mean, the side lights, this Dualtron sign, the array of 6 white LEDs in the front, the great front 30-watt headlight. I mean, it's super powerful. But actually, when we tested it against the Wolf Warrior, there wasn't such a huge difference. But if you put your hand just against the light, your hand will get really toasty quickly. Yeah, so you have all these rails as standard, voltage meter, number 1, number 2. The horn is here as well, though the Wolf Warrior horn is better than the horn on the Dualtron X. Sometimes I find it quite annoying because I just press the horn instead of pressing the turn signal, so that's a small gripe. And I forget if the turn signals are on because there's like no indicator on the handlebars if they are on. But anyways, everything is standard. Dual charge ports, external battery port. The fingerprint sensor is standard as well, but it's not installed in this one. The MiniMotors display, the best throttle system you can get on a scooter. Everything is standard, and phone chargers, like twin phone chargers, or you can connect something else there. What I don't like so much about this whole battery system, I mean, it's kind of weird because you have this external battery port here for the 180 watt-hour battery, and this battery powers basically everything apart of the turn signals. I don't know why. When you turn off the main battery, you cannot access the lights, the horn isn't working, but the blinkers will still work. I mean, maybe it's just a emergency procedure, but what I would like to see is also the array of 6 white LEDs in the front, also powered by the main battery, because this battery, especially if you forget to charge it, will die before the scooter. So I wish there was a connection between the two batteries. Maybe it would be nice to just charge it with one cable, so you know that this battery is always charged. The battery is big, but if you have all the lighting on, it will die definitely before the scooter. And what should you do then? I don't know. So that's a minor gripe with the Dualtron X. I would like to see either a bigger battery for all the external lighting and horn, because the horn does not work as well if the battery unit is off, or just the front lighting connected to the main battery. The reason for that is probably just to have a different source of power, because if you have two 50 amp controllers, probably it will just destroy the system, the lighting system. I wanted to also talk a bit about the position, I mean ergonomically, the position on the scooter, and I find the handlebars to be quite low. I think that because this whole contraption here is also tilted, there's very little room for a comfortable position. So if you accelerate, you have to really lean forward. If you decelerate, you also can lean backwards, but you cannot just have a good stance like on the TechLife X9 and, you know, match the throttle and go really fast. You have to really always be aware of your position on your scooter, and it's not so easy to find a comfortable position here, but if you get it, then it's really good. There's also this small issue with the interference of a foot with this rear damper, because if you put your foot just not in the best way, then you will just rub against the rear spring. That's also suboptimal. And all in all, I would like to see a higher steering wheel here, or just even a possibility to get a higher handlebar, because you can't do it here. Now it's foldable, and that's a great thing. Makes a huge difference. I mean, a huge difference if you are in the tight space. But you cannot mount any like higher handlebar here, as on the TechLife X9 or the Wolf or the Thunder even. So I would like to see that. Maybe it's because of the optional rear seat. So if you're sitting, you don't want to have a too high handlebar, but anyways, that's just the case here. One thing I also don't like so much about the Dualtron X, and it's probably the only thing that is a like true con of the scooter, and it's the brakes. I rode for around 400 kilometers with the scooter, and I definitely need to check the brakes. These are the same rotors as on the Dualtron Thunder. So yeah, I would really like to see some, I know, Magura brakes, 200mm rotors here. It's definitely needed or necessary for this scooter to work properly, especially when you have the regenerative braking turned off. And I had it off because these controllers tend to burn, especially at high levels of battery. So if you have a Dualtron X, better not turn on the regenerative braking above 90% of the charge, because you can just easily burn the controllers, and that's a thing that is sadly pretty common on Dualtron X's. I didn't have this issue. I had it totally turned off. So I also wanted to show you really quickly how it looks like when you fold it. It's not a compact scooter, and I cannot carry it around. It's just too heavy. It's a scooter that is not I mean, for me, it's not possible to lift it pretty much anywhere. So this is definitely a big con, but that's just the way the scooter is. It wouldn't be possible to have these kind of parameters with a lighter scooter, and all the parts are made just for the Dualtron X. I mean, you can look just at this front wheel mount part, I know, front fork, and it's molded, it's beautiful, and it's for sure also designed to withstand really high pressure, and I don't think that it was like overdone to be too heavy. So yeah, you cannot lift it. When it comes to just charging, I'm really glad that, again, as standard, there is a fast charger, 6.5 amps. It takes like 5-6 hours to charge it from 0 to 100%. That's awesome. I also charge it with the slow charger quite a bit, because you know, there's a lot of time in the night to charge your devices. I don't like the mud guards. The front mud guard is a bit too short, because here you can get a lot of mud sprayed all around the scooter. I really like this mud guard. It looks awesome. It's, again, the matter of detail that Dualtron puts into their scooters. Like this thing here is, I mean, it's awesome. But here the mudguard is also a bit too short. You get a lot of mud here, and even the air vent, which is below the scooter, can be obstructed by mud just because of the front mudguard being a bit too short. The rear mudguard as well. As you can see now, I have this part here, and I can actually show you why the rear mudguard is bad, because now it looks that it's totally fine and the length is good, but as long as you step on it, it becomes just too short, and that's why I have this contraption here. It does the job. I mean, it's not an issue if you live in California again, but this just goes to show you that it's not an all-weather scooter. And I wish that there could be a scooter that is just weatherproof, like IP58, water-resistant IP57 telly. That is not the case. It's difficult to build a scooter like this, and if you live in a country where it's raining a lot, where it's cold, probably the best way to travel around is either a e-bike or a wheel. So I drive my electric unicycle all the time in the winter, and I have way less issues with cleaning or myself being dirty than with the scooter. The damper, I mean this steering column damper, it's awesome, and if you really dial it in, you have no wobble at all at higher speeds, especially when you're braking. That's what you could get with the TechLife X9, and it comes as standard here. So yeah, it's extreme, it's a true monster, and a impressive machine, and a true joy to ride. And I love the lighting, I love the quality, I love that even the mud guards are custom made, even though the rear one is a bit rubbish. I love the branding, Dualtron X everywhere, and the small details. Even the cable here is tied with a X sign here, and yeah, the craftsmanship, the design, everything is truly amazing and a piece of art to behold. Even the valve caps are made of metal, which is a detail that is, you know, appreciated by a personal electric vehicle nerd. And I know it's not a scooter for everyone, but those who say that the scooter is bad clearly have never ridden it. And at the end of the video, I want just to quote my friend who owns a Dualtron X, Ricardo, greetings to you. And he said that you truly know how good of a scooter this is when you go back to your regular Wolf Warriors and Dualtron Thunders. I mean, to any other scooter than that. And that is truly the conclusion of the Dualtron X. It's one of a kind, and you cannot say how it is until you have driven it and gone back to your regular device. So if you are still here, thank you. Thanks a lot for watching. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to see more content like this. I'll see you in the next video. See you soon. Oh yeah, and you can let me know how the sound is like, because I bought a new microphone and it should be better. And I'll be really sad when I have to give it back next week. So whilst I still have it, I'll enjoy in the next episode.